And we're back. Welcome back to Open Your Eyes, and we're moving now into our first segment. Now, this one is definitely something we need to tune in for. It's the BTIA and the Belize Tourism Board. There's a summit, actually, and this is Reimagining the Belizean Tourism. Now, very important for us to note that local tourism must be something to have within our country. Lynette Canto is the Executive Director of BTIA, and Charity Yearwood, who is a lecturer at the University of Belize. They're in to tell us all about it. Ladies, good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
So, why didn't I get the memo? That everybody was going to wear pink today.
You're just behind.
Oh my God.
But let me just say, Lynette, this is your first time with us in the capacity as the Executive Director of the Belize Tourism Industry Association. Tell us about the state of the association at this time. We know that it also had a hard time through the pandemic as well.
Yeah. Yes, certainly, Marlene. The pandemic really did a number on the tourism industry on a whole, and BTIA was no exception. So for a while, the secretariat was closed down, and the board stepped in, and they were running the daily activities of the organization.
Okay.
Several months ago, a decision was made that now it's time to resume and get things back in order. And that's when I was hired as the executive director. I have an assistant, an administrative assistant, who is assisting me. We have the chapters in the respective tourism destinations, and so they're a big help in getting things organized and just being a support in general. And of course, I have to say a big thank you to our board, especially our president, because he has certainly been somebody that I can truly depend on in getting things moving, especially as I'm, like you said, still very new to the position.
What about when it comes to the reimagining of local tourism, exactly what we're about to have the conversation about? Is that something that Belizeans are actually into? Is it something that we actually see as important? What are we seeing from the BTIA?
I believe that this summit is extremely important. It's definitely the right time for it. So when we were originally thinking about having this summit, we were thinking about maybe doing it a little bit down in the year, since we just got the secretariat back and getting things moving. But the timing is perfect. The COVID numbers have been going down recently. Of course, we're seeing a little spike right now, but the numbers have been going down recently. And countries throughout the world, throughout the region, are now taking a step back, reevaluating, thinking about where are we now? Where do we hope to go? And how do we plan to get there? And we have to be on top of our game as well. There's only one tourism pie that everybody is fighting for a slice of. So if we don't plan properly, if we aren't structured, if we don't take certain things into consideration, we're going to be left behind. So yes, indeed, it's a really good time to have an event like this. And I do think that Belizeans are ready. We did see the devastation of the pandemic, and we realized just how important the tourism industry is to everyone.
You know, I love the collaboration with the University of Belize, because you have a very strong tourism program. I know a lot of young people, and even people who've been working in the industry, go back to get their degree. Things have changed. The pandemic has changed us, and it's changed the world. And it means that even the way you'll be able to instruct students as they go through the programs and what to expect, that means that will take a bit of a reset or reimagining as well.
Correct. For us, we offer two programs right now. We have a bachelor degree program in tourism, and we also have an associate tourism studies degree. And what has happened is, it has been interesting for us because John is familiar with some of the events we do, and there's a particular course in there called Events Management. And so what has happened is, over the last 2 years during this pandemic, our events went virtually. So our students embraced it totally. And all the events we've had our marketing expo virtually, and we've had the tourism related events virtually as well. And so it is certainly something that has created a shift, and we are prepared to deal with this, and we will continue to embrace these things.
Sharet, before the pandemic, there were a lot of students who are actually into this, tourism, and of course flocked to UB for it because the courses are actually great there. Then we went into the pandemic, or we are in. There were lockdowns. Students weren't able to go to school. It's not face-to-face anymore. The social aspect of tourism is the most important because we have to know how to communicate. What are we seeing right now from the UB or UB students? Are they still flocking to it? Do they see the importance of tourism now after the big hit that we had a few years ago? What are we seeing there?
I'll tell you that initially, so we'd say go back to 2020. Let's go back to 2020, and that first, after say August, that intake, we saw a small decrease,
Decline. Okay.
right? But I'll tell you that it has gone back up. We're normal, right? We're normal. Our numbers look good, and I must say that the industry has been very receptive to hosting our students because there's an internship component. So like Lynette here has been hosting for us this semester. And so they're back out there and we're going.
Yeah.
Then let's get into sure.
I wanted to shift gears to the summit itself, Reimagining Belizean Tourism. When you hear and you hear from tourists, and even what we all feel, there's a let's do it now type of mentality everybody's taking because we don't know when we'll be locked down again for 2
Right.
years. It's
Yep.
actually possible. So you can capitalize on that. But I wanted to get a bit from you, your objectives here. Is it that the product needs to change? Is it that marketing needs to change? Or is it that we need to change how we showcase our project or product?
I think it's a mixture of all of what you mentioned. Like I said, the COVID pandemic was an eye-opener.
Yeah.
And it made us realize that the tourism industry certainly needs to be more resilient.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so crisis management now has become key. We took certain things for granted, and usually crisis management was just focused on a local level. And when the pandemic hit, we realized that this isn't a local problem.
Yeah.
It's a global problem. So crisis management is really important. We also have to consider the effects that tourism has on the climate. I mean, as I was mentioning a couple days ago, when COVID hit and everything went on standstill,
Yeah.
you saw everything coming back. You saw the flowers, the plants, the wildlife.
Right.
So it made you realize that some of the actions that we're having as human beings are really affecting the planet. So responsible tourism planning is very important, right? We need to look at how do we attract tourists to Belize? How do we increase our overnight arrivals?
Yeah.
At one point, we were celebrating because we had been ahead of the Sustainable Tourism Master Plan, but now, we're starting back from scratch. And the numbers so far for this year have been good.
Yeah.
For the first quarter, according to the BTB statistics, we reached almost 100,000 in arrivals from January to March. So that's good. But is it what they call revenge travel? People have been cooped up for so long and they just want, like Marlene said, we don't know when another pandemic is going to, be upon us full force and we'll be locked down again. So let's travel now.
Yeah.
Or is it that Belize is just top of the mind and people just want to come here? We've been hearing artists, we've been hearing celebrities, we've been featured in top-notch publications. So it's important to sustain that momentum and to attract people. So these are some of the things that we'll be focusing during the summit, we'll be focusing on.
What about the resilient part though? Because what was fascinating? How people pivoted instantaneously. They were no longer able to work in the hotel industry or offer their tour guides, and they were, making pizzas for delivery. Or they started crafts or whatnot. Is that the future, you think, that you'd have to be a part of the industry but still have a backup plan or an off-season plan at least?
That is, go ahead.
I think that's one of the things that we have always taught at the university, that there always has to be a backup plan. And a lot of times I think, we get so comfortable with what we're doing and we don't realize, hey, well, how can I shift a little? How can I diversify? And I think that's the mindset that a lot of our stakeholders will have from here on out, that we will always think about diversification. What else can we do with the resources that we have?
Yeah.
Very important.
So, there's definitely going to be a shift.
Yeah.
I wanted to get to the collaboration between the BTIA and UB. We know for a fact that, especially with our youths today and how resilient they are, like we used, how resilient they are in terms of trying to push things or propel things forward. We know technology is on the rise as well. Everybody is into it. What's the collaboration like between the BTIA and of course UB in terms of trying to propel this summit for success?
We have a planning committee and we've been working on this for months. So our flyers out there, the university will be marketing as well for the summit. And so that's important. We will have our students involved as well. And so it's going to be very exciting.
When is the summit though?
Just to tell you a little bit about
Yes, we're definitely going to get into that. Yes, yes.
Well,
He's
first,
trying to mark the date down on his calendar.
we want to see you there,
He'll be there.
Yes, before I get into that, I just want to say a really big thank you to UB. They certainly stepped up and have provided us with a high level of support. Also to Mar Fund, who is one of the major sponsors of this summit. So I just need to get that in there. And then the summit will be held on Thursday, May 26th. So we're just about 2 weeks away. And it's going to be held at the Belize, the Best Western Belize Biltmore Plaza Hotel. It's going to start at 9 in the morning with the official opening ceremony. And we're very happy that our keynote speaker will be Mr. Vincent Vanderpool Wallis, and he comes highly recommended. He's a former tourism minister of the Bahamas, as well as the former Secretary General of the Caribbean Tourism Organization.
Wow.
So he brings a wealth of knowledge and experience to the table. And when we reached out to him, he was so enthusiastic. He really wants to be here and to be a part of this event because he sees the importance of it. So we know that he is going to give an awesome presentation.
And let me just interject quickly there. He is big on service quality and the tourism experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
I'm sure,
And
we're going
I'm
to
glad,
enjoy his
I'm glad that you went there,
presentation.
because one of the complaints of Belizeans is always that how they're treated in terms of tourism here at home. So they decide, okay, let's flock to other countries, let's go to the neighbors, and they're loving that there. So how do we try to re-emerge all the when it comes to how Belizeans are treated in Belizean-born places? What are we going to see there? What do we expect out of the summit with respect to that?
I think that's a very valid point. During the pandemic, of course, we know that the local travelers, the Belizean travelers, were the ones who kept the industry going. So certainly we need for our hoteliers and other tourism service providers to keep that top of the mind and to embrace our locals with that love that they did during the pandemic. But service quality indeed is very important. People don't mind paying for service, but if you're paying for 5-star service, then you expect to get 5-star service.
Yeah.
So that's where training comes in. That's where refocusing the direction in which we're heading. And those are some of the things that will be brought to the table during the course of the summit. Those are some of the discussions that will be had, because certainly our product needs to be on par with and hopefully surpass other regions. We're attracting people here, but when they come, we want them to come back. So we want them to have a good experience when they're here, so that when they leave, they tell their friends, they tell their families, they tell their co-workers about this amazing experience that they had in Belize. And a lot of it comes from the charm and the hospitality of the local people as well.
That's what's fascinating, because I don't know if what the latest surveys say, but we always hear people say the people, we love the people. So the capacity for great service is there. I
Right.
echo John's point with the
Right.
concerns for Belizean travelers. But how do you, in the summit, what's the involvement of other stakeholders? Because our product, Belize is a destination. And
Yeah.
if I go somewhere new, I talk about the destination. And that includes airport service, how long it takes me. We've all seen the images of a Saturday at the airport.
Yes.
The taxi I may choose to jump into, the rental service I use, the hotel I stay at, the tour I go on.
food you
The
eat.
food I
Yes.
eat. And even if I stop at the street side
One of the vendors,
restaurant,
yes.
it's the service I get there as well. So it's an all-encompassing experience that people will report on. So how do you get everyone else engaged?
Maybe you could share
Yeah.
the topics. at
One
this
of
point.
our, we have, it's going to be 5 panels.
Okay.
I will go through the panels in just a minute, but one of the panels that we're focusing on is branding our tourism product for resiliency. And those things that you mentioned fall right into that category because Belize is a brand.
Yeah.
And so there are certain things that you expect when you're branding your product or your service. And so we'll have an expert panel who will be looking at things like that. How do we ensure that when someone comes here that they get the experience that they're looking for, all the different aspects from they arrive to the
Yeah.
time that they leave. So we've thought about that, and that's certainly going to be one of the panels that we will be discussing. And there will be a question and answer component. We're expecting our stakeholders to attend, we're expecting the public to attend, but we added in that question and answer component because we want people's voices to be heard.
Of course.
We want them to contribute to the solution, not just sit back and listen, but also be a part of the solution.
Yeah, because they're the one in the front line, so they would have definitely the questions, and then the folks who knows will tell them how to better the product. But you did mention, Ms. Lynn, that you would go into what the rest of the summit is going to
the
be
panel.
like. Yes, so tell us about that.
Okay, I'm trying to find my notes with regards to the actual panels. Let me see if I can remember them offhand. We will be looking at climate change, which is important.
And that's big.
Yeah. Beach tourism, is it an endangered species? We know that there's a lot happening with regards to our marine resources.
Yes,
So
And sargassum.
sargassum is a big one as well.
Yes.
It's a major
Yeah.
one at the moment.
You talk to people traveling right now, they're like, yes, I love Belize, but the smell of the sargassum.
Yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's not just Belize, though.
Yeah.
It's
Regionally.
or the entire region.
Yeah.
It's
That's a
taking
brand
hit
new
with it.
variable that has entered the industry that
Right.
has to be, there's to be a
Right.
solution that you come up with.
There definitely needs to be a solution because people have choices.
Yes.
Right.
And they choose Belize because of, a lot of them choose Belize because of our coastal attractions.
Yes.
And if it's no longer looking good or smelling good, then there's a possibility that eventually they will choose
They'll move on.
other regions.
Yeah.
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 So it's certainly something that the tourism industry is looking at, and it's an issue that has to be dealt with. And we have to kind of treat it like hurricanes. We don't know when it's coming, but we have to prepare
Yeah.
long in advance.
Yeah, yeah.
So
yeah,
that's
yeah,
the approach.
and I'm so glad that you went there too, because then we know that the hurricane season is one of the low seasons when it comes to tourism. But it is definitely something that has a great effect or effect on tourism as well. Will there be anything with respect to how the weather, how we deal with things, especially during the season?
We didn't have a particular panel that dealt with that, but I think when you look at the climate change and the beach tourism and all of that, those are some of the things that
Should come.
that will come up under that panel. Another panel will be Belize City Ports, cruise ports. How many is too many? So we'll be looking at that. Branding or tourism product for resilience. Airport and land borders.
Okay.
We need to look at short-term and long-term solutions. Like Marlene mentioned, there is an issue when you come into the airport And if our tourists are there for a long period of time, they start getting frustrated. And by the time they reach the hotel, then it's kind of
There's no
difficult.
changing that mood.
Yeah.
It's difficult for the person at the front desk who has to deal with
Yeah.
them because
Right.
they're already in a bad mood. And then we're going to close off the summit with the way forward.
Yeah.
Where are we going and how do we get there?
Yeah.
So,
And who can take part in the summit?
The general public, the BTIA members, of course, get a special treatment. So they get, you have to have benefits
Yeah.
to being a part of these associations. Come on, right? So their participation is free.
yes.
And then others who would like to attend, there's a small fee of
$25.
$5.
And then we're gonna have a buffet lunch, so the fee covers that,
Yeah.
and as well a mixer at the end of the event. So
so some networking going on in the evening.
Okay. And what's the duration of the summit?
the summit starts at 9 in the morning with the opening ceremony. The actual panels start at 10. Each panel will be about an hour. We take a break for lunch. We go back. So we're estimating from 9 till about 4:30,
Somewhere around
5 in the evening.
But I may live in Punta Gorda. I find this very important. Monkey River, I find this very important. Placencia and so on. I might not be able to make it to the city. Is there anything that will be going on online?
We have an option. Once you register, you will be able to join us via Zoom. So if you're not able to make it in person, then that's an option for you. And our plan is that, and UB is helping us with this as well, at the end we will be putting together a summit document,
Okay.
which comprises all the major points, action points, suggestions, solutions that were brought out through the course of the summit, and that will be shared with our stakeholders and with the general public as well. And we're hoping that as UB works on updating the National Sustainable Tourism Master Plan, that some of these things that are brought out during
Yeah.
the summit will be taken into consideration as well. So that's why we're encouraging people to attend. We're inviting the public because we believe that this is a step in the right direction. We're at the crossroads, determining which direction we want to go in. So this is certainly important.
What's been the feedback so far?
The feedback has been a very positive one.
Yeah.
The thing is that we're just putting up our registration link today.
Okay.
So people will be able to start registering today. But in speaking with them, in the calls we've been getting, in our mixers that we've been having, we know that there's definitely a major interest there.
Wow. This is great. Now, and in terms of the online presence, does the fee still apply? Do I pay online? What do I need to do to get more information about this?
The fees will still apply, whether in person or online.
Yeah.
We will be sharing the link, like I said, via our various platforms. We will be sending out via email, posting it on our social media. UB will be assisting us in getting it out to as many people as possible. And if people, for some reason, they want to attend, but they just haven't been able to access the link, they can always call the Secretariat, and we'll be more than happy to assist them with the registration process.
I can imagine people are just bursting with ideas and recommendations, or even wanting to share their own personal experience of getting through the pandemic in this industry. So I'm sure there's going to be some great conversations coming out there. Your students are going to be involved as well?
Yes, they will be.
All right. So they'll hear directly from stakeholders.
Directly from stakeholders.
All right. Well, ladies, this definitely sounds like a great opportunity for all involved to be able to get updated on what's happening, but also share their own experiences and trigger some thought and planning into what the future will be for us as a tourist destination.
Certainly, and that's what we're hoping, that at the end there will be innovative solutions that can be implemented.
All right. Well, we want to thank you so very much for joining us, both of you. Next time, make sure I get the memo. So
Okay. We'll
looking
send it
forward to the
we'll send it
summit.
to Martin.
All right, so we're about to take a break, and when we come back, our next discussion is going to be about Brain Injury Awareness Month. How can we celebrate, or what's going to happen? What is it about? We'll discuss that when we come back. Stay with us.